It's early start of the year, so we wanted to have a kind of overall stock taking of where we stand in our bilateral relation between the EU member states and Zimbabwe. And in that context, of course, we have raised the issue of the drought and how the external partners of Zimbabwe could assist the government in coping with the challenges of the upcoming drought. But we also discussed issues related to the Lima process, how the partners can also assist the government in preparing the reform agenda which they plan to present in Washington over the next couple of months.
Okay, talking about the drought, any humanitarian assistance that we can expect from?
Well, one of the issues we discussed in that regard is that there's a lot of international competition for humanitarian aid, so it's extremely important that the government moves very swiftly in quantifying as much as possible the extent of the challenges, and that on that basis they possibly consider making a declaration of humanitarian emergency, because as you know, some of the countries in the neighborhood have already made that declaration, and that draws the attention of the partners on the country and facilitates the mobilization of resources. So we have more discussed the processes at this stage than exact amounts, because we are not yet at that stage, even though it becomes very urgent. So we very much appreciated the initiative taken by the OPC last week on Friday morning with the UN system to inform all stakeholders on where we stand, and so we now try to find out how we can help the government accelerating that process and come to a decision-making point, including the private sector, because the private sector will have to play a critical role in mobilizing food supplies for the country and for the sub-region overall.
Okay,
in terms of EDF, what's the status of EDF now?
Well, the status of the EDF hasn't been discussed here in detail because we have a privileged partnership with the Minister of Finance to discuss that, but roughly speaking, we have been committing last year 60% of the EDF committed. That means that we have come to a common agreement with the government and ourselves on how we will implement the EDF in details, what type of program we will support, what would be the objectives attained. We have contracted more or less 100 million, so we have found implementing agencies, UNICEF, World Bank, FAO, and so forth, to implement these programs we agreed on for 100 million euros. And we have disbursed last year roughly 70 million euros. Which is a significant amount, and for this year we continue, of course, with the implementation of the rest of the EDF. By the end of this year we will roughly have committed, so agreed with the government with